Hey, my name is Jim Partridge. I'm a modder and mapper, and I wanted to do a video walkthrough of Highway 17, or some of it, because I'm building a mod which will contain quite a lot of driving sections, and I wanted to take the time to take a look at Highway 17, see what works about the driving sections of the game, see why Valve are doing things, and look at what they're doing, and see what happens. So we start off in this really nice, huge, great big area that I don't think I've really appreciated in the past enough. And you know, thinking about it, Valve are basically giving you a bit of a playground with the car first of all, because this is our first time driving the car, and so as a result they want us to get used to the controls, get used to the acceleration, how it handles, but also in a fun environment as well. So here we are in the being attacked by antlines. Also, I still don't know how it's possible to do that with the crane, to get an NPC to drive the crane and to drop you off. I need to learn how to do that because that's really cool. Okay, so here we are, and this is basically just a nice big open playground for us to drive around in, get used to it. We can drive into some things. There aren't really any hazards here. I mean, antlines don't really do a lot of damage. I've got this set to hard, by the way, so I should be getting my ass kicked if it was intended to be that way. There's only one way out, but it certainly feels very, very open. I think this is a really good lesson to learn when you're bringing a vehicle into your map, is give the player some decompression space, some chance to really get used to it, and also it looks great. I mean, the one thing I did notice this time around, this is a Half-Life 2 update, so it's got the HDR and stuff like that going on, but up here is this up here on the hill there is a building that looks very, very Team Fortress 2. I mean, just very cartoony, which is great. And I think I pointed out in previous videos that Half-Life 2 is quite cartoony when you look at it in the style, so don't be afraid to make it too realistic. I mean, avoid making it too realistic. I think it's kind of fun with that sort of hyper-reality element of it. Okay, so there's only one way out, and this is, as I say, we're in kind of a decompression space until we make this jump. And this jump here is really just making sure that we understand the thrust mechanism in the car, the boost, so that we can make the jump and get out. It's the only way to get out of the area is to actually use the boost. It's just like a weapon gate, but just making sure we understand the mechanic. And then we're kind of off on our way, and after this point we get into a much more linear form of gameplay. And we've seen how I landed the symbol, but one of the interesting things about this, and in episode 2 driving sections, is that I like it a lot, and it's really what I'm hoping to emulate, is the sort of the stop-start nature of the gameplay. Driving long, stop, go in, have an adventure, come out, carry on. It's the same in some of the other driving areas with the airboat and things like that. This one in particular, I think, is interesting though. I'm gonna let that load. And the reason why I think it's interesting is because each section of map that you load into is really a kind of a section of gameplay unto itself, with slightly different rules and slightly different things. So first of all, what they do is they drop you off a cliff, and that is sort of to reinforce as well. I mean, last time I got caught upside down, I had to use the gravity gun to flip myself back over again. So it sort of reinforces that it's up to you to get your car out of sticky situations. But also it stops us from heading back through the map as well. It's the point of no return. So we head up and we get our first look at the Thumpers, which I had forgotten, to be honest. I haven't played Half-Life 2 in quite a long time. It's bad because I keep trying to build maps for it, and I should probably play it more often. But I'd forgotten this behaviour of the antlines when they sort of, they get anywhere near this, and I love it. They're sort of backing up and testing it and moving forwards and moving back. It's a great behaviour, and the player also has the choice to turn it off, which of course will bring them in and attack you, but I'm not going to. So let's say each little go away. Each little area has its own sort of little nugget of gameplay, and if you're building maps, really, what I do is I build gameplay sort of independently of anything else. So I might build, as I say, like a little house like this, where we have really a little mini game unto itself. Inside here, we've got a poison head crab at the top. We've got a grenade. We have to destroy the crate to open the grenade thing, which is subtle but also quite nice. It's just an extra action for the player to complete before they can reach what they're looking for. But now, because I've been given a grenade, the temptation is to use the grenade to solve this problem, and probably not stand underneath it like that. That was a bad idea, but nonetheless, I didn't say I was good at this game. I'll just try and play it. And so what we're trying to do, though, is get access to the other door, and they're giving us an endless supply of grenades, and hopefully for those of us who are fairly clued in, is we know that we need to throw a grenade through there, and hopefully, and then when we go through, we kind of see that there was a piece of wood across the door, and that's what was stopping us from getting in. Some people maybe didn't even get that. You know, they just did the downstairs bit, got the grenades, and headed off into the sunset. But so this area, even though it's very small, it's just one room, one building, has several different sort of layers to it. There's the first layer of, you know, go down, kill the head crab, get the hand grenades. Second layer is use the hand grenades to get into the top section, and I guess the third section would also be to kill the poison zombie here to get to the goodies in the end, the major cache, if you like, or the major thing. That wasn't the best thing to do. Never mind. I like running out of grenades, so there we go. Lovely. So yeah, and I think if you can design spaces like this, which contain a little bit of gameplay. Come on. Cannot shoot, and I've got it on high. Anyway, so if you can design spaces like this that have gameplay, and you know, you can just build them as little small rooms and then drop them into a larger world, and I think that's a really good way to emulate that that sort of Half-Life 2 feel. Okay, let's get out of here. You know, and that's almost like a mini level done, you know. So what we've got here, oh, that's good. I didn't notice that seagull that had landed on the car. That's quite a good idea. I like to put that in somewhere. People do tend to leave crows and seagulls out, other than for that dramatic opening of an area, but they can be quite fun to include in the bits. So obstructing the player with destructible props is quite good. Obviously, if you're on the road, it's a bit harder to do, but those triangular kind of barrier, wooden barriers are quite good. Anything destructible, because essentially if you're doing something destructible, you're feeding back to the player as to how quickly they're going. You know, the quicker they go, the faster they destroy. It's the same with the antmines. You know, the faster you go and you hit them after a certain speed, they start exploding on impact. Which is very satisfying to the player, and it's a feedback loop. It's instructing the player exactly what's going on. Okay, so now we reach another mini level, if you like, or you know, in some cases you might think of them as an instance or something, where you know we've got stuff for the player to explore. I never noticed that was a physics prop that you could pick up. Okay. We've got some goodies, which probably indicates we're in for some trouble at some point, but aren't we always? And okay, let's head up here. And once again, this is just a small, I'm going to start using the word vignette. It's a little vignette that you can insert into a map. So in this case, we've got several combined inside a building, and there are various ways to approach this situation. You know, I can bring this in, set fire to the to that guy, and that will kick off the action. Haha, see, that's exactly what the planning is. You come in through the door, don't notice, fall in the hole. There's no real consequence to falling in the hole. You're not going to except I'm not sure we can get back out of it again. You have to go the long way around. Oh, no, we're good. And then the reward is the binocular view, which, to be honest, I literally just discovered this a minute ago while I was preparing for this video. I hadn't realised. I mean, I could sit in there and I knew what binoculars were, but I'd never really looked through it. You get this guy and he kicks the antlion off. It's pretty fun. And I'm assuming, well, I know that this is coming up in a bit, so you're able to sort of do this. But and also there's the G-man there at the top. You see walking away. So, rewarding a small area of gameplay with a little payoff there at the end. And once again, this is an entirely self-contained bit of gameplay that you can build and just insert into a wider open space whenever you want to. Bloody seagull. Every time I come back, he's chewing on my car. Right. And so we're going to head off, and before we transition into the next map, I'll stop and start a new video. If you can move on to step 2. Oh, except I can't do anything. So as we head across the bay, we're going to head to the next bit. So we'll get through this map and carry on. So it looks like the Combine are having just as many problems as we are, which is kind of fun. And obviously it's fun to run over Combine, so let's make a note of that. When you're driving a car, it's fun to run the Combine over. I don't really like using the gun very much, and obviously I'm going to be using the Episode 2 muscle car, which doesn't have a gun, so I'm more interested about what we can do and what's fun with just doing the car stuff. These kind of mini games are quite fun, and here's some boxes hanging from a boat. You can probably destroy the boat, or I'm not sure actually, I've never really tried, but yeah. So don't destroy the boat before you pick up the goodies, essentially. So I think what I'm going to be doing is building out more and more of these small rooms, small buildings with gameplay inside them to pepper along the route that the player's going to be moving along. So then we get to the settlement, which we saw before, and we can see, so we've already sort of had some foreshadowing through the binoculars before. And you'll see how we drove past it on the beach, and we come up a level here and drive back into the settlement afterwards. And I can't remember which bit this is, whether this is a...
Gordon Freeman!
Oh.
Hurry, get in the basement. We're expecting gunships at any moment.
Oh, okay, here we go.
Colonel
So,
Tubbs will be glad to see you made it.
it's, yeah, here we go with Mr. Cubbage and all that. Gubbins.
Basement, if I were you. We're bracing for an attack.
But there's no reason why this can't be designed completely unto itself. This area is just something we might see in a mapping competition or something like that, where it's just a single battle, a single encounter. But since you're stringing them along. Oh, I hate Odessa College. I've forgotten about this.
Is our best bet for taking down.
So I'm going to stop this now. I'm going to come back when this is done.